As I said, guys, you are in a process of learning professional embroidery. Part of professional embroidery is stitch structure and how things do things and why they do them. This is not written in your workbook. This is not on that video. This is not online that you can download. This is something that comes from a different level. I want my customers to do the best quality embroidery. I want them to produce work like that every time. Well, there's a way you do that, and it comes out that way. And you guys are just this close to being able to do stuff like that all the time.
That's what I
Just
want.
learn. You just learn. This is learning. And that's what you're in the process of doing, guys.
Learning.
As I said, this is not, I don't want to sell you something in a box. You'll understand why you buy a machine from me. This is what this is all about. Do you understand the needles? Most of the time we're going to be using the blue tip or the red tip. Occasionally we'll use the metafill needles.
And that's the top stitch.
That's the top stitch. Next thing we're going to talk about is thread. And this is the most important thing of the embroidery part. All three of these parts, needles, thread, stabilizers, are all very important. There are basically three types of embroidery thread, and embroidery thread is different than sewing thread. If that's a question you're wondering, can you use sewing thread? Not really. Embroidery machine thread is entirely different than sewing thread. There are basically two major ones that we use, and the best one to use, we don't use that much because of the cost of it, but I encourage you to use it. The primary two that we use is polyester and rayon. And in my honest opinion, the highest quality embroidery thread is acrylic.
And that's the one you said you don't use very much.
That's the one that it's not available that much anymore because of the cost of it.
But the best is acrylic.
Yes. Janome manufactured acrylic thread for their embroidery machines because it's the finest in the world. But because of the cost of it, people wouldn't buy it. I still have some acrylic thread up there. But Janome has even gone to this, that they're using polyester now. Polyester is the most used embroidery thread. It is 40 to 45 weight thread, as is rayon, 40 to 45 weight. You can use 50 weight thread. I love this So Fine by Superior. It's a beautiful embroidery thread. It's an embroidery polyester thread that we use in quilting. It's 50 weight. In fact, if you're going to be using black, this is the black thread I recommend to use. But there's another type of thread in there that you'll need to know about besides the top thread, and that's the bottom thread, and that's this bobbin thread. And yes, there is a distinct difference between embroidery thread and bobbin thread. Bobbin thread is 62 weight.
Yeah, that's it.
It's thinner than the top thread. And no, you do not use embroidery thread in your bobbin. Bobbin thread by its nature is cheaper, and it's generally one color, white. that can be used for everything. But ladies, you use white bobbin thread, black bobbin, or black. It'll be in one of these two colors. But you'll also notice here with Superior, they got all kinds of other colors. And it really doesn't matter, ladies, in the bobbin thread, what color you use. Because if you're seeing what's in the bobbin, your machine, there's something wrong. You either need to change your needle or stabilize your fabric better. Now, which thread should I use? People always ask me that. Should I use the polyester? Should I use the rayon? I prefer the polyester. The reason being is most polyester threads are durable, more durable when it comes to laundry and care. Rayon is more brittle. But I'll just name names that I think that's the finest threads to use. You can use anything that you want. But Madeira polyester, Janome polyester, and Robeson Anton and Superior rayon is the best in the world to use in embroidery. And sulky will come in there too, but before I would use sulky, you'll get better result with Robeson Anton with Janome embroidery machines. Now the modern sulky thread is different than it was 5 years ago because Fred's redesigned it. The older sulky thread was exclusively rayon, was exclusively 40 weight thread. It was thick. And the reason that it was thick is because it has to do with the way that your machine does embroidery. See, most embroidery machines sew on what's called on the 90-180 XY axis. That means your machine sews stitches this way and sews this way, 90 and 180. And then it does that to make shapes. When it's using this method, there's gaps. So you need a little thicker thread to fill the gaps, to smooth out the edges. Sulky thread is designed for everybody else's sewing embroidery machine except for Janome. Because Janome has always sewn in a 360-degree grid. That means that Janome, if you take a circle 360 degrees, Janome will plot stitches in every point. It'll put them at 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree, 4 degree, 5 degree. Everybody else's goes 90, 180. Janome machines don't have the gaps in their stitch layout that other embroidery machines do. And that's still true to this day.